Don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
This well-known American comedian has had enough of woke culture and isn't holding back. He's been outspoken, boldly expressing his frustrations and taking a stand against it. With sharp humor and fearless opinions, he's publicly humiliated the movement, making it clear where he stands on the controversial issue.
But in today's world, when truth conflicts with narrative, it's the truth that has to apologize. Being woke is like a magic moral time machine where you judge everybody against what you imagine you would have done in 1066, and you always win.
Woke culture centers on identifying and addressing social injustices related to race, gender, and identity. Advocates strive to challenge oppressive systems and promote fairness. However, the movement remains highly sensitive and controversial as it tackles deep-rooted societal issues. Critics argue that it sometimes goes too far in rewriting history or enforcing political correctness. Bill Maher, the well-known American comedian, writer, and political commentator, didn't shy away from sharing his blunt opinions on the subject during his appearance on The View. His remarks were so sharp and unfiltered that they sparked immediate tension. Even Whoopi Goldberg, known for her strong views, seemed ready to dive into the heated debate and offer her own take on the matter.
That on the other side very easily.
But before we go, I want to say...
No, we're not going anywhere yet.
Okay.
Later in the video, you'll see how Bill Maher dismantled woke culture with his arguments. However, the term woke itself is often misunderstood and can be quite triggering. Before launching into his critique, Bill took a moment to acknowledge this very issue. He set the stage by addressing the controversy surrounding the word, making it clear why the debate over its meaning is so intense.
Absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice. Who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want, because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right. He's
Well,
talking about the left. Well, then
Okay,
I'm
but
woke.
we talked about that.
The topic of woke culture is highly controversial and sensitive, making it difficult to discuss. Even Bill Maher, known for his bold and provocative opinions, approaches it with caution. At times, it almost seems like he's trying to avoid getting too deeply involved in the debate, aware of the intense backlash and heated discussions it often sparks.
The term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and
migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice. Who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want, because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right. He's
Well,
talking about the left. Well, then
Okay,
I'm woke.
but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right.
Here's where it gets interesting. In another interview, Bill Maher didn't hold back when discussing the word woke. He went even further, offering his own definition of wokeness and breaking down its meaning in detail, making his stance on the topic clearer than ever.
How do you define wokeness? Because I hear people use the term all the time, and it means something different to everybody.
Well, again, I think it's this collection of ideas that are not building on liberalism, but very often undoing it. I mean, 5 years ago, Abraham Lincoln was not a controversial figure among liberals. We liked him. Now they take his name off schools and tear down his statues. Really? Lincoln isn't good enough for you? 5-10 years ago, bedrock liberalism was we are striving to be a colorblind society where we don't see race. Of course, we see it, but it doesn't matter. That's not what woke is. Woke is something very different. It's identity politics. We see it all the time. It's always the most important thing. I don't think that's liberalism. I mean, I could mention so many issues like that.
Despite the controversy surrounding the term woke, Bill Maher argues that the real issue is how the left has shifted from its original ideals. In a bold statement, he reveals what he sees as the biggest threat to society, and it's not just the term asterisk left asterisk, but how its meaning has evolved.
Okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat.
In this clip, Bill acknowledges that the far right is a major and dangerous threat. But of course, the conversation didn't stop there. This is where things take a darker turn as he delves deeper into the complexities of the issue, revealing even more thought-provoking insights.
But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a joke. But,
Too dark.
After Bill made that statement, an awkward silence followed. While it might seem like a dark joke, he stands by his words, insisting that it remains true and does not weaken his argument. If you know Bill Maher well, you can sense that he's holding back slightly in this interview. However, Bill has never shied away from criticizing woke culture in the past. He has openly challenged it in multiple interviews, unapologetically sharing his views. A prime example is his interview with Ron DeSantis on September 30, 2023, where he didn't hold back at all. In that discussion, Bill openly expressed his strong opinions on wokeness, making his stance unmistakably clear.
I'm fed up with woke too. That's why I have trouble with friends in Hollywood. I'm an old school liberal, and that's a whole different thing than woke. And I'm sympathetic to you because, you very often take on an issue where I feel like, yeah, there is crazy stuff going on in schools. There is crazy stuff. But the problem is it doesn't resonate with a lot of people who don't see it for whatever reason. And so they're like, why is this guy picking a fight with Mickey Mouse, right?
Well, they picked a fight with us. But, well, listen, so first of all, I do a lot more than just that. I think that's a little bit of a caricature. But this idea of ideology corrupting institutions, I see it in Los Angeles with the amount of crime that's here and the homelessness. There are people that commit crimes who are not prosecuted like they would be in Florida. Our state's crime rate's at a 50-year low. You elect these people like Gascon and what they did in San Francisco. Yeah. You can break into somebody's house or mug somebody and you don't end up going to jail. That doesn't work, but that's driven by ideology. So it's not just we're having just a philosophical debate. I think woke ideology has corrupted institutions. No. I think it's corrupted things like the CDC with how they handled COVID with the nonsense that they did. So it's a broader...
Bill Maher has always been clear and direct about his views on woke culture. As expected, he doesn't hold back or soften his opinions, especially on his show Real Time with Bill Maher *. He argues that in today's society, there's a major disconnect between objective truth and the narrative promoted by woke culture. According to him, whenever these two clash, the truth often takes a backseat. Bill believes that woke culture prioritizes pushing a specific agenda, sometimes at the expense of facts, leading to a distorted perception of reality. Now, it seems like woke culture is being portrayed as a kind of ideological threat. But when Bill was asked about terrorism and Hamas, his response took an interesting turn, offering yet another bold and thought-provoking perspective on the matter.
Let me tell you, if you're for Hamas, just live in Gaza for a day. And I'm not talking about while the war is on. I mean before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv.
Bill argues that many Hamas supporters may not fully grasp the harsh realities of life under their rule. He suggests that if they experienced Gaza firsthand, they might rethink their stance and gain a new appreciation for the freedoms in Tel Aviv. Then, in an unexpected statement, Bill shares his perspective on how to end the war in Gaza. However, his proposed solution is controversial, and not everyone agrees with his take on resolving the conflict.
Of course, everybody is, but that's what happens in a war. Here's a way to stop that. Stop attacking Israel.
As seen, only 2 women applauded, while the other 3 stayed silent, a clear indication they disagreed with the idea that Israel should stop being attacked. Afterward, Whoopi jumped in, emphasizing that the media is selectively showcasing only certain parts of the world's events, suggesting a bias in how the situation is being portrayed.
Question for you, because I don't know if you've noticed what I've noticed, but I find that oftentimes when I'm watching the news, I'm only getting portions, because one of the things that happens, I was listening to you talk about the kids that had the Hamas flags. It reminded me of when people were saying Antifa is there, and doing it. So bad players show up and make stuff happen, but do you find that the view that we're being shown seems to be meant to guide us into thinking about people one way, when in fact it may be a much bigger conversation?
In Whoopi's view, the media presents only one side of the story, steering public opinion to fit a specific narrative. Bill and Whoopi found common ground, agreeing that the news is often misleading and deceptive. However, Bill took it a step further, humorously trolling the media, pointing out its flaws in a way that added a sharp comical edge to their discussion.
Of course, I mean, the media is always going to just chase what is interesting to watch. I mean, I used to be able to watch the nightly news, for example. I can't do it. I mean, first of all, it should be called, here's some video we found that's fun to watch. That's not the news.
Yeah.
You know, like anything that happens on a plane. Like the plane skidded off the runway, so what? Call me when anybody died, and it's not, the door fell off. Okay, I'm sorry.
Bill criticized the media for focusing on misleading stories, like a plane incident where the door fell off, but no one was harmed. He argued that the news has become more about entertainment than accuracy, portraying it as something amusing to watch rather than a reliable source of truthful information.
Okay.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And then by the time you get to the last segment, it's just, you know, the bears in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
You know, it's just nothing.
Yeah.
And it's narrative over truth.
Has Bill Maher truly shifted from being an old-school liberal, as he claims? For years, he maintained that image, but during this show, a revealing moment suggests he may not be exactly who he says he is. So how does Bill handle it? We'll get to that. For now, Bill turned the conversation to homelessness, highlighting how traditional liberals and the woke respond differently to the issue. He then broke down the key differences between the two perspectives, making his stance on the matter crystal clear.
I think we're tribal now, which is not good. And I think there's 4 tribes. Basically, there's old school liberals, which I would mostly count myself as, old school conservatives. There's still some of those
You've
left.
changed them.
This comparison highlights the different ways liberals and the woke approach social issues, offering insight into their distinct philosophies. Now, returning to the question of whether Bill Maher has truly changed, his response was sharp and on point, making it clear where he stands on the evolution of his beliefs.
The liberal view of that was, for compassion's sake, we're the liberals, we're compassion. Let's get these people off the street. That's not the view of the, whatever word we're going to come up with for this. Their view of the homeless is they're an endangered species that needs to be protected in their natural habitat, living their best life under a bridge. You know?
Bill has always been outspoken and unapologetic about his opinions, never fearing the backlash that may come his way. His critiques of woke culture and the media have always been direct and unfiltered, making him a unique voice in both comedy and commentary. His bold approach sets him apart from others, as he isn't afraid to challenge controversial topics head-on. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you're still watching, don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this one, you'll definitely enjoy the next. See you later.
That to me is crazy. That's the kind of things, I haven't changed on that. I still think we should get these people off the street. That's the compassion sake. So I didn't change, they changed, and there's lots of examples of that.
Bill Maher has always been direct and unapologetic about his stance on woke culture. As expected, he doesn't hold back or soften his opinions, especially on his show Real Time with Bill Maher *. He argues that in today's society, there is a significant gap between objective truth and the narrative pushed by woke culture. According to him, when these two collide, the truth is often disregarded. He believes that woke culture is more focused on promoting a specific agenda, sometimes at the cost of accuracy, distorting facts to fit its message. Now, woke culture is increasingly portrayed as a looming threat. But when Bill was asked about terrorism and Hamas, his response was particularly intriguing, adding a new layer to the discussion.